If you're both a fan of Haruki Murakami's type of writing that lets you feel like you are sort of grabbing a piece of life, and you also happen to like art, I got a new book for you. I don't really have an intro for this video, so I don't really have an intro for any of my videos. Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing okay. So recently I was scrolling through my GoodReads, updating stuff after a while. I'm almost mentioned being sick and already I started coughing again. After a while of being sick, this is Paper Target by Steve.S. Saroff. I'm 100% butchered the name and I'm sorry about that. Before we get into the book, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the author. I didn't know about the author until the publisher people reached out to me and asked me if I'd be willing to read the book for an honest review, and I said yes, so thank you so much for that. It means a lot to see people support small channels and creators like myself. Steve.S. Saroff is the host of the podcast Montana Voice. If you don't know it, me too, I don't know it. I'm not a podcast bitch, I'm an audiobook bitch. And also the author of over 30 traditionally published short stories, which I am actually very happy about because I want more from the author after finishing this one. Secrets that are shared but still not understood remain secret. I read that opening line and I immediately had to note it down, and I immediately was like, I really like this. I'm really gonna like this. If you're an avid reader, then you know how important it is to have a banger opening line. It is 100%, in my opinion, what makes or breaks how your reader feels going into the book. So we're following Enzi, who is a dyslexic, this is embarrassing. A dyslexic, oh. Okay. I got it. It's okay. So we meet Enzi, a dyslexic. So we meet Enzi, a dyslexic stutterer. Wicked name, by the way. I love the name Enzi. I love it so much. In my opinion, we get a perfect summary of his childhood when he actually had a stutter, developed a stutter, and moving on from that, and then his teenage years, and then his drifter sort of backpacking years until now, and what he's doing now, telling us the story of what happened now. We didn't really get a lot of the childhood, and I liked what we got. I feel like it was a perfect amount. It wasn't overbearing, it wasn't too much, it was just like, oh my god, get it over with, please. I'm not interested. It was perfect. All the way from his parents to him ending up where he is now and developing himself. So you can imagine how hard and difficult life was for Enzi, being a stutterer and not having the best childhood and not the best relationship with their parents. Then we also discover with him how he fell in love with math and found a language that he can read without being embarrassed and without being stuttering and blah blah blah, which led to him learning to code and to create codes and programs. Then we meet the first love interest and the unconventional way we actually met her. And honestly, the hope she sprung into Enzi's life is something that you could feel. It's something that I personally could feel. And at the risk of spoiling a little bit, you could even feel that exact same hope evaporating by the end of their meeting. And he was just telling a story that happened in his past about this certain love interest, and it honestly, like, I didn't expect to get emotional at the end of that story, and I did. It's good. I didn't know what I was expecting getting into the book, and because I've never heard of the author, I've never seen the book before, but I wasn't expecting that to get emotional, and I did, just like from chapter 1. So at the time, we already know that Enzi was leading a drifter from a back bench to a couch kind of life, and that comes with a lot of danger, obviously, which sort of is executed in a beautiful way, but it actually managed to be written in a nice way that lets us, I don't know, sort of get a piece of his life and to know a little bit of who he is as a person and the lengths he's willing to go through for a little bit of a thrill. So one day he gets a call from prison, and it is from someone to bail her out that he met a while ago, and he left his number with her, an artist that he made by the name of Carrie from Japan, and he goes to bail her out, and so we meet Kaori. The third chapter, I loved it so much. I love the third chapter so much because this is where it felt so much like a Murakami. Not like a Murakami, but it just gave off the slight hint of a Murakami inspiration in there without the women description and pubes and stuff, you know. We end up knowing so much more about Enzi while he stays with Kaori, who's very unstable and very distressed after losing a relationship from her one true love. There's this thing about Kaori at first where she has this beautiful, chaotic, feminine rage feeling to her that I absolutely loved. It wasn't bashful, like it wasn't like done in a shy, in a like teeny tiny way that like, oh no, I'm sad, he broke up with me. You know, she was legit fucking crazy and I loved that. I was drinking rain that had fallen from Australian clouds, moved through the earth up into a hive, and turned into fruit half a world away. Drinking dark wine that aged on a ship as it crossed oceans. And I was sitting with a girl who had punched a Montana cop in the nose, but who was sipping her sweet purple drink, spiked with industrial ethanol, fermented and distilled from North Dakota corn, but who was also able to show her feelings simply by sketching onto paper. Someone who was able to make me frightened one moment and foolish the next. So Enzi and Kaori end up in New York, and it's such a well-executed, beautiful chapter. And the relationship between Kaori and Enzi is something very, I don't know, specific, but beautiful. Because with Enzi's strangeness and queerness and weirdness, and Kaori's just unstable, batshit craziness, it just leaves something where both of them need something from the other, but not necessarily the other person. I don't know if that makes sense. And it leads into this dynamic between the two that I personally find, it is toxic, but I personally find very amusing to read and very relatable. Also, if done right, this trope is very, very good. And here it was done right. I don't know if they created Kaori, I'm talking about the author, if they created Kaori in this thing in their mind, or I'm just reaching because your girl got the thing. But Kaori to me is an exaggerated representation of borderline personality disorder. Again, it might just be me seeing myself in yet another fictional character. They just didn't like think about this at all, but personally that's really how it felt. It is, yes, exaggerated, but she embodied the fucking word that borderline. She embodied the illness borderline personality disorder, coming from someone that has the personality disorder in a very severe way and deals with it 24/7 and constantly having to regulate their emotions. It was, yes, exaggerated, but it is borderline personality disorder. The speed in which you would go from absolute rage to just wanting to be loved and held, and to this becoming to this form of like a child almost. It just made me cry while reading it because I saw myself in it, and I was, dude, it just made me feel, I don't know, like it made me feel things. Now, she may just be an unstable character representing nothing, but the more I read, the more I found myself in her, and I just wanted to share that. Now let's get to the negative, which wasn't a lot. The first negative is expected by like a lot of books, and that is it just got a bit boring in the middle. I don't know, it was just the same, not really repetitive. I want to say the same thing, but it's not really necessarily repetitive, just a bit boring. That's it, like just a bit boring. Also, Kaori is a little bit annoying. She says after saying, I relate to her and I see myself in her. She's a little bit annoying, and it kind of put me off reading whenever, and she's all over the book, so you can't really escape her or anything like that, but it put me off reading it for a little while because she's like, I wanted to punch or slap her, or like to just like, please shut up, because of like how annoying she was. Personally, the parts where I personally found boring might not be boring for other people, but Again, for me personally, the parts where I found boring were basically when he would just go on and on and on about something that I don't really care about. He would go on and on and on about juggling or like creating something like a code or whatever, and it wasn't really interesting to me, so I just got bored. Also, this is so specific and so exclusive, and I'm such a prick for nitpicking every little thing. But there was this one character from Texas, and he kept saying fella, and at first it was like, oh, cute, but then he wouldn't stop saying fella, and I didn't like him. Like, it was cute at first, but then it got so annoying. Oh god, like he kept saying it. A fella doesn't want to go, does he? Oh my god, a fella want to go? Oh my god, a fella doesn't want to go. Oh, a fella woke up. Good morning to a fella. A fella is having breakfast. Like exactly like that. And it was just a bit annoying. The final one, and maybe the only serious negative, is that in his final scheme, NZ is, like I said, a programmer, and he ends up, I don't want to spoil, but he ends up doing something that is illegal, and in his final scheme, he tells you what he's going to do word for word. And I would have personally preferred it if they showed us, and then it was like a big reveal, like a got you moment at the end, rather than just telling us, oh, I'm gonna create a backdoor to the backdoor that I created and got you. It's just like, rather than him saying, I will do trick, you know, it's showing us the trick in a way that is more thrilling. That's about it. It was a 3 point, maybe, it wasn't 3.5, it doesn't feel good, the 3.5, so maybe a 3.75 or something. I don't really feel comfortable giving it a 4. It's somewhere in between there, but it's round up to a 4 because GoodReads still doesn't give us half stuff. It was very entertaining, and again, thank you so much to the publisher for sending me the book for this review. That's it. I'm gonna see you next video. Bye.